It wasn't a very good showing for the Royals on Memorial Day. So, what did we make of the game? We'll dive into it in this edition of Locked On Royals.
You are Locked On Royals, your daily Kansas City Royals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are tuned into another edition of Locked On Royals in the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jack Johnson, and you can find me on Twitter or X at JohnnyJ_15. That's at JOHNYJ_15. You also can catch us on wherever you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, Google Podcast, Odyssey, and YouTube. Just be sure to hit the follow button and subscribe. And you can always leave questions and comments to my Twitter handle, or you can leave them below on each and every video throughout the week, which for the new time listeners, we bring you episodes Monday through Friday, 30-minute episodes, as well as 60-second recaps after each and every game. You can check out those on our YouTube channel because they'll just be those little YouTube shorts. As for today's sponsor, we are being brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So get started today over at FanDuel. Well, I'm just now getting back from Kauffman Stadium. I went from work to the game today, was in the clubhouse afterwards, got to speak to a variety of guys, including the one making his major league debut today in John Rave, which good for him, was not necessarily robbed of his first big league hit. It was a call that was overturned. He was out. It was very obvious. But still, he gets on base today in the ninth inning with a walk that put the tying run at the plate, which after the first 6 innings of today's game, don't believe that was ever going to happen. At least not in my opinion. I did not envision the Royals getting the tying run to the plate when it was 6-0. But let's go over this game as a whole. And we'll be breaking it down today, as usual, into the 3 segments. We'll talk about today's game. We're going to dive into Michael Massey and what we've seen from him, and maybe more importantly, what the Royals can do with him moving forward. And lastly, we'll preview the matchup tomorrow, which will include old friend Brady Singer making the start against his 2018 draft class mate in Daniel Lynch. So that should be a fun one tomorrow if you're heading out to the game. Maybe you'll get better weather. I haven't checked the forecast just yet. It was terrible today. Absolutely awful weather. There was no delay, thank goodness. Still, if you were out there and you were wearing a poncho, probably didn't enjoy getting rained on and seeing the Royals fall behind 6-0. And really, in the first 3 to 4 innings, that wasn't even a contest. The Royals could not figure out Nick Martinez at all. Michael Lorenzen, who wasn't that sharp against San Francisco, was not that sharp at all today. In fact, there wasn't really one inning in which he looked that sharp. And after the game, he was very critical of himself, said, I pitched terribly, and I got to get back to the drawing board and work on a lot of things so that this never happens again. And it is baseball. These starts happen. Even the best ones out there have starts like this. It's just unfortunate. Coming off of the win they had on Sunday, felt like a big momentum win for them, a very emotional win, and they just laid an egg through the first 6 innings against the Reds on Monday afternoon, a holiday afternoon, I should say. And this is one of those traditions where maybe if you are a big baseball fan, you always gear up for Memorial Day. You go out to the game, you grill some hot dogs and hamburgers, drink a few beers or sodas if you're a kid, and you enjoy it. You enjoy watching the Royals win a baseball game on Memorial Day, and you enjoy the 70-degree weather. You didn't get any of that today. Fortunately, if you stuck around long enough, it did get a bit tight late. It was still going to be a long shot. It just wasn't a roll over and show your belly final 3 innings for the Royals. They had to scrap, they had to claw, and I can give them credit for that, though I know for a lot of you listening, you're not going to care too much about that because they put themselves in a 6-0 hole. And very few times in the year are you going to overcome a 6-0 deficit, whether you're at home or if you're facing a bad team or not. And the Reds, they're not one of the better teams in the National League. They're a league average team, I would say. They're 1 game under 500. I feel that is a very, very accurate assessment of them. There's talented guys, Ellie De La Cruz, I've been a fan of their rotation, especially Nick Martinez. Their bullpen has some pretty effective guys in the back end. They also have some young talent like Spencer Steer, and you've got Matt McClain. Today, it was Tyler Stevenson that stole the show. And isn't that so fitting? That when you fall behind 6-0, it's not Ellie De La Cruz, who came into this series, by the way, in facing the Royals, 1 for 25 in his career against Kansas City. And he gets on base twice in his first 2 at-bats. It wasn't him, though. He was not the one doing the damage. It was their catcher, and Tyler Stevenson, who after 3 hits today is hitting 209. That's the guy that did a ton of damage. And he had good numbers against Michael Lorenzen, which is why I imagine he got the start today. But really the way you can chalk it up is this is going to happen over the course of 162. Maybe you're tired of hearing me say that. I've said it about the offense, though the offense has given us more reason to quote-unquote panic, to be discouraged, because it's just not getting better. You were having guys go through hot stretches. It's not been maintained, though. I mean, Vinny Pasquantino right now is the hottest hitter for the Royals. Bobby Witt Jr. has gone into a slump. Jonathan India has been in a slump. Salvador Perez has been in a bit of a slump. There are a lot of guys in this lineup that just aren't doing their job in the way that we all expect them to. And I've said this before the season, and I want to say when Bobby Witt Jr. first was struggling, which wasn't for a long period of time this year, it's very easy to look at the box score and go, oh, he was 0 for 4. They didn't win the game. And I would venture a guess that over these final 7 games, over these final 107 games, they will win less than 5 games in which he goes 0 for 4 or 0 for 5, a game in which he strikes out 4 times. Like, you're just not going to have a lot of success when your star player at the top of your lineup doesn't get on base. And there are a couple things I'm seeing, and I'm not worried whatsoever. We know that even the best in the game are going to go through slumps. What I can always tell in watching Bobby Witt Jr. and in these slumps, and I'm not a guru or scout or a hitting coach in saying this, you can just tell that he's a little bit aggressive when he is slumping. A lot of aggressive swings, pitch 1, pitch 2. He's not seeing a ton of pitches, and they are attacking him with the high fastball. And he hasn't had great numbers on the high fastball. And today, when you're trying to start a rally, if he's not getting on base, it's pretty tough to start a rally. Vinny Pasquantino had a 3-hit day. He seems to be hitting his stride, getting into a little bit of a rhythm. But even after the game in the clubhouse, he said he couldn't care less about his 3-hit game because they didn't win. And you would rather have the team win and you maybe just get 1 hit than have 3 hits and a loss. Very team-first culture in the clubhouse. And the team-first culture is going to get them out of rough stretches. I wouldn't say that they've been in a particular bad stretch. They're 3-4 over their last 7. It was a 500 road trip. And yes, they dropped game 1. They got an opportunity to win tomorrow, and then they'll have Noah Cameron on the bump for Wednesday's game. You'll have the off day, and you'll welcome the first-place Tigers in what should be a very anticipated showdown at Kauffman Stadium. You get Tarek Skubal and Chris Bubich on Saturday. You'll be facing Casey Mize on Friday, and you'll get, I believe, Keeter Montero throwing on Sunday for Detroit. You're not facing Jack Flaherty. You're facing just Skubal. They've had their numbers against Casey Mize, and they've had their numbers against Montero. But that's putting the cart ahead of the horse here. The focus should be on tomorrow, and we'll talk about it in segment number 3. It just is a frustrating, reoccurring segment that we have here. There's only so much I can say about the offense. Let's be real here. I'm going to sound like a broken record every time they lose a game in which the offense didn't do enough until later on in the game. In fact, there's a lot of games they didn't do anything over 9 innings. At least today, they got 3 runs in the 7th. They made things interesting in the 9th. You just look back to the 6-0 deficit. You look back to what put you in that hole. and you've relied so much on the starting rotation, we also have to realize these guys are human, and they're going to have a bad start or two. They're going to have more than just a few bad starts. You make 30 to 35 of them on the year, you're not going to have 35 great starts. There are going to be nights you're just off your game. And Michael Lorenzen, the last 2 times out, he's been off his game. He also had a start in Houston where he worked into the 8th inning. He's had 7-inning performances, 7 shutout against Boston. Like, you have seen the good version of Michael Lorenzen. He didn't have it today. I will say that the guys that threw out of the bullpen, that was huge. And if they can win game 2 or they can win game 3, maybe both of them, I am going to point back to those 4 innings that Angel Serpa, Evan Sisk, and Steven Cruz worked. Because that allowed the Royals to still go with their bullpen game tomorrow. And there's a lot of fresh arms for them. And having those fresh arms is important in knocking off Brady Singer and the Reds tomorrow. I expect the bullpen start to go well. I expect Daniel Lynch to look good. I'd imagine we'll see Jonathan Bolin. I'd imagine we'll see John Schreiber. I'd imagine that we're going to get a good look at, Ursig and Estevez if they have a lead late. I still believe Angel Serpa can throw tomorrow. He didn't throw that many pitches. In fact, the only guy I would say is not going to be available for game 2 of this series is Evan Sisk. I mean, Steven Cruz threw 15 pitches and struck out the side. He can go again, at least for an out or two. So you've got an abundance of arms you can turn to tomorrow. The key is, though, this offense has to get the top of the order going again. And when I mean top of the order, I mean the top 2 guys. You need Jonathan India to get out of this slump, get healthy and get out of the slump. He can't be hitting 220. Bobby Witt Jr., we know he's a 330 caliber hitter. Can't be at 290. Not with the offense playing like this. If you can get those 2 going with Vinny Pasquantino and Salvador Perez every once in a while running into one, and we know Maikel Garcia is still playing at an all-star level, that can get things going. And I understand, I sound like a broken record bringing this up game after game. It's just what I'm seeing. Maybe you can get a spark from John Rave, a spark from Nick Lofton. Those guys should not be looked at, though, as the heavy lifters. They shouldn't be looked at as the guys to drive the bus. You need the top of the order to do that. A lot of pop-ups, a lot of lazy flyouts. If they can get back to hard line drives, gap to gap, running into one every once in a while. It sounds simple. I know it's not that simple. That's going to change the course, though. Just it feels like ever since opening day, so many pop-ups. A lot of guys that are trying to hit the ball in the air, and it's leading to infield pop-ups. More line drives, more ground balls with eyes, and maybe they can get this offense going at some point. They'll have a test tomorrow going up against old friend Brady Singer. We'll take our first break of the show. When we come back, let's talk about Michael Massey. I've been getting a lot of questions about him, what they should do, and I'll give you my thoughts. I'll let you know if I believe that Omaha is an option, if they're going to let him play through it, and we'll dive into that all next on Locked On Royals. You are tuned into Locked On Royals and the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jack Johnson, and you can catch us on wherever you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, Google Podcast, Odyssey, and YouTube. Just be sure to hit that red button, the subscribe button, and follow along all season long. Well, today's show is brought to you by FanDuel, as we brought up to begin the show. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's game-winning shots or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. New to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com, place your first $5 bet, and if it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And as I'm recording, you got the Thunder and Timberwolves playing right now. So you know what? I'll throw a little live bet in here, and I'll take the money line on the Thunder to win tonight in Minnesota. That series in OKC's favor 2-1. I think they go up 3-1 tonight and put the Wolves on the brink of elimination. This is maybe a talking point, a segment that we have pushed off for quite some time. And I'll call myself out here a little bit. I was a big supporter of Michael Massey's going into the year, and I'm still a supporter of all of these players. I want them to do well because the better they do, the more wins they get, the better chance they have at the postseason. And for us with this podcast, the more they win, the more you watch, it works out well for everybody, right? So I'm pulling for every player to do well. Even if you have the guys that frustrate you and you want somebody else to play over them, you want everybody on this team to do well because that will just result in more wins. And I've said before that last year's Michael Massey would be a huge, huge addition to this team. Just because of the way that Michael Massey's playing right now. He did get a hit today, and he was up representing the tying run in the ninth inning, but he flew out to center field. There isn't necessarily one thing I see with his swing or his approach. He's always been a swing first type hitter. He's a defensive first second baseman. He's got a little bit of pop. And maybe down the road, that is going to show itself again. I mean, he does have a big enough track record at this point where we can point to previous years and go, that is possible. It is possible for him to have double-digit home runs this year. It is possible for him to be a league average bat. But as of today, as of this evening, he's one of the worst qualified hitters in baseball. And the defense doesn't matter that much if that's what you're putting together at the plate. And with the way the Royals have operated in the month of May, I can't say it'll shock me anymore if he is going to be sent to Omaha to figure some things out. In the same way they did it with MJ Melendez, it wasn't to demote him and say, we're done with you. It was to demote him, allow him to slow things down, and figure it out. That's always the goal with these big leaguers who are starters in the lineup going to AAA. It's not to banish you forever. It's to find some confidence at the plate, tinker with some stuff. And it's a hell of a lot easier to tinker with stuff in AAA than it is in the big leagues. And it is getting to not necessarily crunch time. It's just getting to a point in the season where you can't fall back on it's early and it's a slow start. That's for April. Next week is June. And Michael Massey is well below league average in pretty much every aspect of his numbers at the plate, well below average. And I thought for a moment that he was starting to catch fire, get some good luck hits, and anytime you see those bloopers fall in or you have a ground ball with eyes, you feel that guy might be destined for a breakout. And then the hard hit balls that were once finding gloves are now finding gaps or leaving the yard. It just never stayed consistent with him. And a lot of it is going to come down to this. Nick Lofton playing well. John Rave playing well. Cam Devaney continuing to hit well in AAA Omaha. You have those three guys producing. Then the Royals are going to have to make that decision. If Michael Massey is hitting sub 200 next week, which he's right on that Mendoza line, if he's hitting sub 200 and it's June 1st or June 5th or whatever it would be, you can't justify playing that every single day. The Royals have already shown this year those leashes are just getting shorter and shorter. The leash got short with MJ Melendez. It got short with Hunter Renfroe. It got short with Chris Stratton. Got short with Kevin Biggio. None of those guys made it out of the first 2 months of the year. That's pretty early when you think about it. And with Michael Massey, it is important that he figures things out. That's what I am going to stand by here. Not just because he was my preseason prediction to have a breakout year. I was high on what he did in the postseason, what he did at the tail end of last year. I was high on what he did in spring training, though the numbers weren't everything. It was more so of the approach, how he looked up close when I was down in Surprise. It just hasn't worked out. And I'm not trying to speak it into existence. We all know, though, for this team to be a playoff team, they need their second baseman to be league average. Maybe that's Nick Lofton, maybe that's Cam Devaney, but somebody's got to be league average. And Michael Massey is the only one of that group that has done it at the big league level. So if you demote him to AAA, there's got to be a plan in place that he figures things out. Unfortunately for MJ Melendez, it hasn't. He's not even hitting his weight down in Omaha. I wouldn't say it's gotten worse, but it hasn't gotten much better, and that's always the risk you run with big leaguers you demote to the minor leagues. Some of them take it in stride. They get motivated. Not that they're seeking revenge, but they want to prove that that was a mistake. I'm too good for AAA. I got the confidence back. I'm ready to go. I can make some adjustments down there. I can alter my stance a little bit. I can alter my hand placement. Those are things you can do when playing in AAA. It's hard to do that at the big league level. Some of you, you're done. You're out on Michael Massey. I get it. Over the course of 162, there are a number of players that are not going to be there when it's all said and done. This fall off, though, is just odd to see. And I wonder if the back is flaring up again. I wonder if it's something else, because the player he was last year is not the player he is this year, and it's not close at all. And that has been detrimental to the lineup. They have to get more out of Michael Massey. And unfortunately for him, time is running out. You got to prove over this next week, week and a half, that you are catching fire, that you are starting to figure things out at the plate. Because if not, there are options to start at second base. In fact, you could just start Jonathan India at second base, and you could start Rave in the outfield, or Lofton in the outfield, or Canna in the outfield. There are ways they can make it work at the big league level. And for Michael Massey, you don't want that to be the case, where you get demoted and then the Royals just move on and you don't hit well enough in AAA to get back to Kansas City. Things have to change in a hurry. Things have to change in a hurry for a lot of guys out there that are fighting for a roster spot, that are trying to cling on to one. Maybe the best course, though, the best path, is to give him some time to reset and get the confidence back up in Omaha. But the front office members, the scouts, the hitting coaches, they know what's best for these players, and they know whether playing through it, moving into more of a platoon role, or sending him down would be the best course of action for a guy like Michael Massey. Okay, we're going to take our final break of the show. When we come back, we have a 2018 draft class showdown. I should say a Royals 2018 draft class showdown tomorrow night. Brady Singer will make his first career start against Kansas City, and Daniel Lynch will be the opener for the Royals. That was reported by Annie Rogers a little bit ago. So let's take our final break of the show. When we come back, we will dive into that matchup next on Locked On Royals. You are tuned into Locked On Royals and the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jack Johnson, and you can find me on Twitter or X at JohnnyJ_15. Our final segment is going to be looking ahead to tomorrow. It will be the Brady Singer Daniel Lynch game, and I feel that's just cool in general. You have two guys from that 2018 draft class, a memorable 2018 draft class that is just recently started being looked at a little bit differently. If you were to ask me to evaluate that 2018 draft class in 2022, I would say that in large part it's been a failure. You haven't produced a lot of big league starters, whether it be in the rotation or in the lineup. Brady Singer was your horse, and he was regressing in 2023 and 2000, not 24, but in 2023, he took a step back. 2022 was the really strong year that he had, which led us all to believe in 2023 it would be a really good season for him. Just wasn't the case, and the Royals lost 106 games that year. So maybe that would have been the best time to evaluate it. 2023, Bubic, he has Tommy John surgery. Daniel Lynch doesn't really figure things out as a starter. Brady Singer has the regression. Kyle Isbell not really showing that he could be an everyday center fielder. It's a lot different now in 2025. But it should be a pretty emotional moment for Brady Singer tomorrow. He's always been stoic. We can remember that about him because it was only 1 year ago. He's not going to show too much emotion unless Angel Hernandez would be behind the plate or it was raining. And in these last couple of starts for Cincinnati, he's not been that good. So this is a start for him where he really wants to shove. And I'd imagine Jonathan India leading off the game tomorrow, he wants to greet him rudely. He wants to open up the game with a gapper. Or better yet, leave the yard off Brady Singer. And Brady Singer wants to put him away on 3 pitches. That's just what I would imagine is going through their heads. They're competitive like that. But this isn't necessarily to identify who won the trade. That's not going to be the case tomorrow. It's more so going to be the case at the end of the year when you see how these two guys played, because the Royals would only have Jonathan India under contract for 1 more year. For Brady Singer, I believe he's got 1 more year of control. I don't want to say that he's a free agent just yet. That's worrying about something that doesn't really matter for tomorrow's start. And then you got Daniel Lynch opposite of him, 3-1, a 1.57 ERA. This is probably the last time the Royals have to use this bullpen game. At least cross your fingers for that. And it's going to maybe set the tone for the rest of this homestand. It's an important homestand for the Royals. There are, I should say, plenty of opportunities to gain some ground in the Central. The Royals lost today. They missed an opportunity to gain some ground on Cleveland, who is getting absolutely bashed, or at least last time I checked, they already lost. Okay, so Cleveland lost to the Dodgers, so they're still a game back of Cleveland. As I'm recording this, the Minnesota Twins are trailing the Rays in the final 2 innings here. They're down 3-2 in the top of the 8th with 2 outs. So you have a chance tomorrow and a chance on Wednesday, assuming that the Rays can win that series and the Dodgers can win that series, to jump into second place before you face the Tigers. And it's going to be hard to picture that if you lose tomorrow. And like you were in San Francisco, you're at a disadvantage just because it's a bullpen game. And with it being a bullpen game, you're going to have to rely on 5 to 6 guys being on top of their game and the offense to have a good showing against Brady Singer. Maybe the emotions get the best of him. Or maybe he absolutely shoves over 6 or 7 innings. We just don't have a lot of trust, a lot of faith in this offense at this point in time. And I don't know too many Reds fans out there, at least personally. I know there are Reds fans out there. I'm meaning more so about close friends or coworkers. Maybe they're not feeling great about Brady Singer with the way he's thrown over the last 6 to 7 starts. Though the Royals only have 2 guys that have faced Singer in his career, and that's Mark Canha, who doesn't have a hit in 5 at-bats, and Jonathan India, who's hitting .400 in 5 at-bats against Brady Singer. As for Daniel Lynch, he's faced a variety of guys. He's actually faced, it appears to be 9 in the Reds lineup, so they have some familiarity with him. Still not enough. I mean, he's never really been a full-time starter, and he's just been welcomed into this relief role, though he's back to start the game tomorrow. Though he will do that routine where he warms up in the bullpen and comes out of the bullpen to begin the game, so he's not, throwing things off. He's not going against his routine. He's just treating it as if he was coming into the game in a relief appearance. Should be a lot of fun, though. Maybe you don't believe that. I haven't checked the weather for tomorrow's game. This will be a fun one to go to, though. I won't be out there tomorrow. Got some stuff going on. I'll certainly be following along. But to see Brady Singer go toe-to-toe with Daniel Lynch, a night game at Kauffman Stadium, this may be the only time that we see Brady Singer pitch at Kauffman Stadium in a Reds uniform, because next year they'll be in Cincinnati. And I don't know if Brady Singer or Jonathan India will be on these teams 2 years from now. That's looking way, way too far ahead. It's a big game, though. Because you give yourself an opportunity on Wednesday to go for that series win. You got a red-hot rookie pitcher in Noah Cameron squaring off with the ace of the Cincinnati Reds and Hunter Green. You lose tomorrow, you're really at odds to win even one game in that series. Baseball's weird. As I've said before, you can't really predict it. Tomorrow, though, has some pretty big implications. With Detroit on the horizon, you have the off day on Thursday. Man, it would feel good to steal one tomorrow, get some good outings in the bullpen game, and this offense just jump on Brady Singer a little bit. It would be great to see them tag him for 5 or 6 just to give the bullpen some comfort in the same way they did it to Logan Webb. Just not expecting that. I can't until they show they can do it 5, 6, 7 games in a row. If they have an outburst, it's almost always followed with a 2-run game or a 1-run game. They did get 4 runs. They also didn't do anything until the 7th inning today. So we'll see. Brady Singer's not pitched that well over his last 7 starts. Daniel Lynch, the best option you could go with to open the game. Also matters what happens for the guys that follow Daniel Lynch. And if the offense is doing anything against Brady Singer and that two-seam sinker that we were so accustomed to for many years. I'll be fascinated to know how many pitches he throws. Will he be loading it up with 4 or 5 pitches? Or if he starts struggling, will he be that 2-pitch guy? Two-seam sinker, slider down in the way to righties, or down and then to lefties? We'll see. Again, first pitch, 6:40 p.m. tomorrow. Brady Singer has returned to Kansas City, going up against his 2018 draft class mate in Daniel Lynch. Well, that'll do it for another edition of Locked On Royals and the Locked On Podcast Network. I've been your host, Jack Johnson. Now, before we say goodbye, thank you for making Locked On Royals your first listen today. For your second, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale and find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Tomorrow, not sure if we're going to be doing a morning episode or a late night recap, but I'll definitely be filling you in at some point tomorrow on social media. But until then, you take it easy, Kansas City.